Girl, what you doing? Boy, what you doing? Are you still letting the fear of failure keep you from approaching your goals with the utmost confidence? If so, sit tight. This one is for you. Hello. Welcome back to another episode of Girl, What You Doing? I'm your host, Jada Cheyenne, and today we'll be diving into why I do not believe in the concept of failure and how simply shifting your mindset can change the way that you approach your goals and life overall. The fear of failure can honestly become your worst enemy. So I would just like to share how I kind of overcame that mindset to develop one that doesn't believe in failure at all. So within society, we're often told to avoid failure at all costs, to just aim for success, and that anything less is some kind of personal flaw. But if we don't go through, failures and mistakes, then where's the room for any form of personal growth? I do not believe in failure because every little thing is a learning experience, whether it's good or bad. Any experience teaches something valuable in our life that we can take to the next step. Success is always going to be far from linear, and everyone's path is going to look different. And I'm a very, very firm believer that what's not for you, you will not be for you. If something was for you, you would have it. And if it is meant for you, then maybe now is not your time. And there's things that you have to go through and learn in order to get where you want to be. Sometimes there's things that you want so bad, things that you think you're meant for, opportunities that you will do anything for and you don't get them. And you just don't realize that you're not in the place in your life for those opportunities. And you still have to go through some personal growth to be the best that you can be in those roles. What you want may not always be for you. So if you don't get an opportunity, then you weren't meant to get it. If you were meant to have it, you would have it. And if you are meant to have it and still didn't get it, maybe there's still things that you have to go through and learn so you can be the best that you can be. I was listening to a guest speaker. I really wish I remember who it was and where I was, but unfortunately I do not. But they said in every single encounter, big, small, walking past somebody, small talk, anything, every encounter that you have with a person, you're either learning or you're teaching. And I feel like that just reminds me that one, there's always something new to learn, and two, you also always have something to offer. The same way you can learn from people every day, people can learn from you as well. So you kind of have to be open to sharing your thoughts, sharing your opinion, and just being yourself around people, because there's things that the world can learn from you the same way that you continue to learn from the world. A lot of times people forget that we have the power to define how a situation is going to affect us. So it's not what we go through that matters, but it's how we choose to respond to it. And one thing about me, from any situation, good or bad, I always find the takeaways from it. I always try my best to reflect and kind of see, okay, I may have went through this, it may have been a tough time, but what did I learn from it? How can I use this situation to become better in the next, So there's always takeaways from both good and bad situations. There's always lessons to learn. The same way I don't believe in failure, I don't believe in mistakes. If you learn something from it, it can't be a mistake. The only time you make a mistake is if you make it twice. And I've learned that aiming to avoid failure kind of causes you to miss out on the growth that you get from stepping out of your comfort zone. I can very, very easily say that stepping out of my comfort zone has been the best thing that's ever happened to me. Stepping out of my comfort zone has literally guided me through the past 4 years of college. When I first got to school, I remember I wasn't able to speak in front of large groups. I used to be nervous during interviews, but the more I stepped out of my comfort zone, I became very, very comfortable just within my voice and just me as a person overall. And once you gain that kind of confidence, it's something nobody can take away from you. So if you walk into a room with the utmost confidence, even if you aren't as qualified as some of the people around you, that alone speaks volume, and it says a lot about your character, and people are going to notice it whether you know it or not. So with that being said, it's really important to approach life with the thought that you don't know it all. I know sometimes it's kind of hard, especially when you do gain that confidence. It's easy to think you just know everything, but you can never go forward with that mindset, because there is always something new for you to learn, and there's always somebody who is willing to teach you. You just have to be open to it. When I started to view some of my setbacks as lessons instead of failures, I noticed a huge shift in the way I approach my challenges. And what I mean by that is I was more open to going for big opportunities because I didn't care whether I got the opportunity or not. What mattered to me was that I tried, I put my best foot forward, and I just put myself out there and stepped out of my comfort zone. So the reward wasn't whether or not I got the opportunity, it was the simple fact that I put myself out there and that I tried. With this, I didn't get discouraged by setbacks as easily, and because I approached so many situations with a new level of confidence, I actually was rewarded in the end. Even though I may not have been looking for that reward, just the simple fact that you approach a situation with confidence will make it more likely for you. Because at the end of the day, if you don't believe in yourself, nobody else will. So the first person that has to believe in you is you. So once you start to believe in you, the rest of the world is going to come along. You just have to keep putting yourself out there, keep putting your best foot forward, and not being afraid to hear no. So there's 5 things that I found very helpful for me personally, shifting my perspective on life and just challenges overall. And those things were self-reflection, reframing your language, being kind to yourself, celebrating progress, and lastly, never getting too high off of praise and never getting too low off of jabs. And I'm just going to dive into each one. So we're going to start with self-reflection. Over the past, 4 years of college, self-reflection has been my very, very best friend. And it's helped me to learn myself more than anything. And self-reflection can be done in many ways. I journal a lot, which is one way that I self-reflect very easily, because something I've noticed about myself personally, sometimes it can be really hard for me to put what I'm feeling into words. But once I start writing, you just kind of like go. So journaling has been really big for me. And this might sound crazy, but I do talk to myself. You know, sometimes you just got to talk it out, hear your voice. And like sometimes when you just speak, when no one is listening, when you just speak, you start to just realize new things about yourself. So yes, journaling, and I do talk to myself from time to time. Might sound crazy. Oh well. It's helped me get to where I am today. But yeah, and sometimes journaling can be hard. Like, even though it's really good for me, it helps me out a lot, I struggle with consistency sometimes, and that's something I'm still working on. Like, just a simple act of picking up a book and a pen and just writing. It seems simple, but I don't know. It takes a lot for me to do it sometimes. So I struggle with consistency, but it has been very rewarding for me. And sometimes I don't know what to write. Sometimes I'm just staring at a page for a few minutes and I'm just like, what's going on? Like, when I have the most going on in my head, that's when it's harder to just get everything out. But the more you do it, the easier it'll get, and you're able to just go back and read where your mind was at in certain places, and you can physically see your progress, which is really helpful because it just allows you to see how far you've come when you might not be able to notice it otherwise. But yeah, people have their own ways of self-reflection. So of course, find whatever works for you, stick with it, work on consistency. It takes a while. Like I said, I still struggle with consistency, but you know, once you get it, it really does help. So find something that helps you self-reflect, and it'll also just help you kind of see your flaws from a new perspective and figure out how to work on them. Because a lot of times it's hard to like point things out about yourself. Like, one of my least favorite questions is, like in an interview or something, is tell me about yourself. Because most of the time I just be like, like, I'm me. And it's like, sometimes you know yourself so well, it's hard to point out a lot of your different characteristics, both good and bad. Like, I know there's so many good things about me, but when somebody's just like, tell me about yourself, it's kind of like your mind goes blank, because I just know myself so well. I don't really stop to think about the little things that make me me. So that's helpful, and it also helps with the flaws too. It helps you point out things you need to work on. All right, the second thing I mentioned is reframing your language. Growing up, my mom always just taught me that, you know, there's power in the tongue. The things you put out there are important. Like, don't put bad things out there because bad things can happen. So anything you don't want to happen, don't say it. You know, like, I do not believe in like just saying negative things, saying I can't do something. I don't know, just putting any kind of negative words and negative energy out into the universe is just a big no for me. I always speak positively because there truly is power in the tongue, and the things that you say, the way that you think, it speaks so much volume. And when you put something out there, it's out there, you can't take it back. So it's just important to be very, very mindful of your words and the things that you say, the things you put out there, because they truly make a big difference. So when you speak more positively upon yourself, speak more positively about your situations, you feel better about them, and you have a better outcome and better thought process through those things, rather than just being like, oh, I went through this and this is so hard, I can't do that, I'm never gonna do this. Words like never and can't, they're so like definite, and those kind of things do not define you, who you are, or what you're going through. So yeah, be very, very mindful of the words that you put out, the way you say things, and all of that, because it truly does matter. Okay, my third point is to be kind to yourself. It is your first time living just like everyone else's. It's just important to treat yourself with kindness, because the way you treat yourself, it shows. It truly does show. So when you're going through something, you're having a hard time, just remember to be kind to yourself. It's your first time living, first time going through these experiences. You know, it's life. There's ups and downs, but through all of it, you just have to treat yourself kindly, because, you know, the world's not always going to be kind to you. And that's just a fact. The world's not always nice. It's not always pretty. People aren't always the nicest to you, but just treat yourself with kindness, and it'll change the way that you kind of operate through this world, with confidence, and knowing that if nobody believes in you, you do. However you want the world to treat you or view you, you have to do it inside first. All right, my fourth point is to celebrate your progress. I've recently become really big with this. I think it's something that I might not have been as good at in the past, but recently I learned to celebrate kind of every little milestone, because, you know, it's important and it makes you feel good. And like when you get a new opportunity, you start a new business, you get a job, you finish a paper, celebrate that. You know, if you want to go have a glass of wine, have a glass of wine. If you had a good day and you want to end it off with some Chipotle, like I do, go get you some Chipotle, okay? Yeah, I love Chipotle. I only get it on good days. I only eat Chipotle when I'm having a good day. Or maybe if I'm having a bad day, I might get it if I think it'll make me feel better. But most of the time, I try to get Chipotle on really good days, because it just makes my day even better. Like, oh, I just did this, I just finished this, did all my homework in a day, time to go to Chipotle. Like, okay, I'm rewarding myself. You know, so it's just the little things like that. Find what kind of makes you happy, small rewards you can give yourself throughout the day or the week, and just, you know, celebrate the little things. For example, the night I, you know, set up my podcast episode, my best friend, my first one, we baked cookies, we had some wine, you know, it was like a little vibe, a little celebration, because it's a big thing, it's major. So when you accomplish something, just don't forget to congratulate yourself and celebrate those little wins the same way you would celebrate the big ones, because at the end of the day, they all come together and they matter. My last point was to never get too high off praise and never get too low off jabs. The things that you go through do not define you. So with the never get too high off praise, like I said, it's important to celebrate yourself. Of course, know who you are, know what you're capable of, but never get too cocky about anything or kind of airheaded, because again, it just goes back to the fact that there's always more for you to learn. You never know it all, so you can never get too high off your praise, because that little thing can be taken from you in an instant. Because it doesn't define you, that little thing could be taken from you in an instant, and you're still going to be you. But if you allow yourself to get too high off of that praise, you're going to feel different without it. And then with never getting too low off of jabs, the same way those great moments don't define you, the poor ones don't either. So there's no real point in dwelling on, you know, a bad moment for too long, because at the end of the day, it's not gonna matter. And I wish I remember where I heard this from too, but I was told by somebody that they live by a 3 rule, and by that they meant if it won't matter in 3 minutes, 3 hours, 3 days, 3 weeks, 3 months, 3 years, then don't worry about it. And I think about that all the time. Like if I'm ever upset about something, I'm like, is this gonna matter in 3 days? In 3 weeks, 3 months? And if the answer is no, it's just like, what's the point of spending your living time, you know, kind of dwelling on this little moment? So that's something I kind of try to live by. And I try to just be really positive and not be down over the little moments, because at the end of the day, they're not life-changing. Sometimes they are, but a lot of times they're not life-changing, and it's not always gonna matter in the long run. With that being said, what I do believe in, I do allow myself to feel for a certain amount of time. Like if I go through something that really kind of triggers my emotions, I do allow myself to feel for the time being, but once I'm done, it's done. I don't go back to it. I don't dwell on it. I allow myself to feel my emotions in the moment, kind of go through it, navigate how I'm feeling, but once the moment's over, it's over. I do not go back to it. Another thing about me, I love to plan out my future. I cannot tell you how many times I planned out futures that never happened. And the future that I'm in now, it was planned in a sense, but a lot of stuff was completely unplanned. So with me being a person who just likes to plan things out, I have to be comfortable with the fact that not everything is always gonna go my way. And I know that. And I'm just me. I'm always gonna plan my future out. I have like 3 futures planned out in my head right now. And I might not get either of them, but I'm just the type of person to do that. But I'm comfortable with the fact that what's meant to happen for me will happen. Wherever my path takes me, that's where it's gonna take me. It doesn't matter what I want or what I planned out in my head 2-3 years ago. You know, what matters is where my life is actually taking me. So I'm comfortable with the fact that a lot of the scenarios in my head that I think are gonna happen in my future likely won't happen. Some of them will, when it comes to my goals and just simple things that I want to accomplish. But overall, the way my life is gonna go, especially with me graduating in May, is just like, life is gonna take me where it wants to take me, and I just have to be able to go with the flow. I can't be like, oh, like, well, I wanted this, I wanted to move here, I wanted this opportunity, I wanted to work here. No, it doesn't work like that. Whatever's best for you is gonna happen. What's ready for you is gonna happen. So as I prepare to graduate, I'm just really approaching it with a very open mind, and knowing that the future that I think is for me might not be for me, and it might be for me, which would be great, but you just never know. So yeah, that's just another thing about myself. I love to plan my future, but if you're that type of person like me, be comfortable with the fact that a lot of the things that you plan may not happen. So if there's anything that you take away from this today, it's that your mindset matters more than you think. Embrace the setbacks, because they're not failures. They're just stepping stones getting you one step closer to that big opportunity. You will not see it coming, so be sure to find takeaways from every little situation, because you're going to need. You're never failing if you're still trying. So as you navigate through this life, figure out what works, what doesn't. Just keep pushing forward, keep putting yourself out there, keep putting your best foot forward, and you will be rewarded. Remember to speak positively upon yourself, to walk with confidence, never get, you know, too high off of praise or too low off of your jabs. And I promise you, you will notice a difference in the way that you approach a lot of your goals and challenges within life. So if you've recently been told no, I hope this gives you a new perspective and motivation to just keep moving forward and not to let those little moments define you. Thank you for tuning in to yet another episode of Girl What You Doing. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Follow us on socials, and I will see you in the next video. If you enjoyed this episode of Girl What You Doing, I'm sure you'll enjoy similar content in the Alive Podcast app. Plus, you can support this podcast and enjoy ad-free listening to nearly 100 other Black hosted podcasts. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you next time on Girl What You Doing.